Welcome back. This is Mark Stump. This is October 2013. I'd like to talk about shutter speed. Hopefully this will be a fairly quick video on shutter speed. The thing, this is a film camera. It's an old film camera. I know I said film cameras belong in the trash, but I dug this one out of the trash in order to make this video. So, the film, in the old days, you buy film, you put it in here, the roll here, you stretch the film across, put it in here, wind. And that film really needs a certain amount of light to be correctly exposed. And it really needs that light, that same amount of light every single time. How do you give the film the same amount of light every single time when you're taking pictures indoors and indoors one day and outdoors the next day? Well, we had a couple answers to that question. There were a couple ways that we would control it. One way is through shutter speed. So one way you let the same amount of light into your given film speed. One way that you ensure you always have the same amount of light is by adjusting the shutter speed. So when I'm indoors, I would try to use a slow shutter speed, like a 60th of a second. When I'm outdoors, I might be using 1/250th of a second. Naturally, more light can get in when I'm using a 60th of a second versus the faster 1/250th of a second. So that was one way that I control the amount of light that hits the film. The other way was aperture. That's the next video. This video is about shutter speed. So I'll take the lens off. I'll show you the shutter. I'm going to open the back. Now this is something you don't really do with digital cameras. You don't open the back. I have this set on bulb, which means the shutter is going to remain open for as long as I hold the button down. There's the shutter right there. Don't touch the shutter, but there it is. It's right there. I push the button down. Now the shutter is open. Now light is going through the lens and landing on the film. And that's it. Now, like I said, normally you wouldn't have it open that long. Normally it'd be some fraction of a second. Although there are people who like to take shots of, for instance, moving vehicles in downtown Chicago. You can put your camera on a tripod, you have the shutter open for 15, 20, 30 seconds, and you'll record the streaks of light that are made by the traffic. You really won't see the cars in such a shot, you'll just see the streaks of light. So that's what shutter speed is about. Shutter speed is about letting in more light when it's not so bright, letting in less light when it's very bright, and then also freezing action. You usually don't want things to be blurry, so you'll usually need at least a 60th of a second to stop somebody who's sitting more or less still. If your subject is a person who's moving, you'll need a faster shutter speed. And occasionally, you will want blur. If you have a little girl who plays soccer, it may be that you mostly want to freeze her action, and just have, for instance, a little bit of blur in the foot that's kicking the ball, or have a little bit of blur in the ball in order to convey that action. But mostly you'll want a shutter speed that freezes the action and gives you a nice crisp photo. So that's it, shutter speed. It's one way you control the light that gets in, and it's a way that you either create blur or avoid blur. Thank you very much.